Welcome back to our video series on mechanical lien systems. Now, up to this point, we've spent a lot of time talking about the information that you need to collect, how to collect that information, how to make sure that it's accurate information, and how to use that information to fill out your checklists so that you can then prepare your mechanical lien forms, your pre-lien notices, and your mechanical liens. Now, going forward, what we want to do is how to fill out the pre-lien notices, what you need to do, how to fill out the mechanical lien documents, and what information you need for that. So in this video, though, I just want to focus on how to prepare and serve the correct pre-lien notices, what the rules are, who you have to send them to, and who has to send them. Now, not everybody has to send a pre-lien notice, so we're going to focus on that in this video. Now, in the next video, we'll talk about how to fill out the actual document, and we'll go through one in detail and show you how we use this information that we've collected to fill out the notices. Now, let me go back a little bit and talk about why we have pre-lien notices. Well, the simple fact is that these rules were designed to protect owners and let them know who's working on their property. So certain people have to send out the notice to give notice to the owner that they're working on the property, and that would be subcontractors and sub-suppliers. Now, if you have a contract directly with the owner, again, you're a general or original contractor, well, the owner already knows that you're on the job, so you don't have to send him a pre-lien notice. It's designed for those subcontractors and sub-suppliers who the owner may not know about, is to give him or her notice that you're on their project so they can make sure that you get paid. So what exactly is a pre-lien notice? If you are a subcontractor or supplier, and again, a subcontractor or sub-supplier is someone that does not have a contract directly with the owner, and you work on or supply materials to a commercial project or an owner-occupied home. Now, that's important. If you are working on a commercial project or an owner-occupied home, then you have to send out a pre-lien notice within 75 days of the last day of the project, and you have to send it to the owner and to the general contractor. So let's talk a little bit about working on a commercial project. What exactly is a commercial project? Well, simply put, a commercial project is one that's not a residential project. And the statute defines a residential project as 4 residences or dwellings or less. And so that's typically a custom home, a spec home, someone who hasn't moved into a home yet. So a commercial project or an owner-occupied home. Now, you may ask yourself, why is an owner-occupied home one of the conditions that you send a pre-lien notice? Well, again, remember the intent of the statute is to give the owner notice of who's working on his or her job. If it's a commercial project, they're usually big enough where you need to send out the notice and let the owner know who's working on it. Or if it's an owner-occupied dwelling, then someone's actually living there, and you need to let them know who's working on the project. So again, the rule is that you have to send out that pre-lien notice to the owner and to the general contractor within 75 days of the last day of work. And if you'll recall, we went over what the last day of work in the project is. We'll go over that a little bit more here in a minute. So what are some of the exceptions to sending out a pre-lien notice? The statute says that if a project is under $10,000, you don't have to send out a pre-lien notice. So for example, if you're working on a commercial project and your contract is $9,500, you're not required to send out a pre-lien notice. You're exempted from that requirement. Also, if you are owed only retainage, that everything else has been paid and it's just the retainage that's being held, you don't have to send out a pre-lien notice for that amount either. Now, a third exception is when the GC will not give you the name and address of the property owner. Now, the statute provides that one method that you can use to be exempted is to send out a notice to the general contractor requesting the information of the name and the legal description or address of the property owner so that you can send out the pre-lien notice. If the general contractor does not provide you that information within 5 days after receiving certified mail from you requesting that information, then you're exempted from providing a pre-lien notice. Okay, let's talk about what is the last day of work. And we've talked about this before, but the last day of work is the work that was done on the original contract and any change orders. The work that is not the last day of work is any repair or warranty work, as that will not extend the last day of work. Now, in our practice, we also include any punch list work. Now, the reason we do that is simply because in a punch list, you may have work that's repair or warranty work, and you may have work that's done as a result of the original contract that's just not finished. And oftentimes it gets confusing and becomes a problem, and it's just another reason for lawyers to fight. We want to try to avoid that. So out of abundance of caution, I always use the last day of work that you were on the job from the original contract, including any change orders, and exclude any repair or warranty work or any punch list work if we can. If we get into a time limit where we may be missing dates, we'll then analyze the punch list and see exactly if there's any repair or warranty work or if there's any work that's under the original contract. So, but be safe rather than sorry, and always try to backdate or go back and pick a very safe date as to when the last day of work was on the original contract or any change order. Now, if you'll recall, we talked about the exceptions to the pre-lien notice. Anything under $10,000, you don't have to send a pre-lien notice. Any retainage, you don't have to send a pre-lien notice. And then the request to the general contractor for the owner's name and address. Now, here's an example letter that we sometimes use in our practice. And it's a very simple letter. It can say, "Dear Mr. General Contractor, we are looking forward to working with you on this project. To help us complete the process of setting up our files for the above project, we would ask that you provide us the name and last known address of the owner and owner of the property where the property or the project is located. Please let me know if you have any questions. Sincerely, your name." Now, send that out certified mail, return receipt requested. Make sure they get it. And if they don't respond to you within 5 days of receiving that letter, then you don't have any requirements to send a pre-lien notice. Again, we talked briefly about the purpose of a pre-lien notice, and that's to give the owner and the general contractor notice of who's working on the project or supplying materials. And it's a very straightforward statute. I think it's a well-designed statute. It's certainly easier than the old days when we had to send out multiple pre-lien notices. You only have to send out one pre-lien notice, and you send it out after the last day of work. Now, I think this is important simply because I think there's some cases out there. Well, I know that there's some discussion out there of whether you can send out a pre-lien notice at the beginning of the job and forget about it. And I think that it's pretty clear now that you have to wait until the last day of work to send out your pre-lien notice. So we want to make sure that we document that date of the last day of work so that we know that we have 75 days to send out the pre-lien notice. Okay, so that's all I really want to get into right now. In our next video, I'll actually show you the form that we're going to use and how to actually fill it out using the checklist with the information that you were able to collect. And we'll go through there and show you how to actually fill out a pre-lien notice sample that we use in our office. I'm not suggesting you necessarily use this form. However, this is the form that we use in our office. We've been successful with it, and we're happy to share that with you and help you learn how to fill it out. So I look forward to seeing you on the other side.